morning, everyone. I'm Shalini Prasad, Department Chair for Biomedical Engineering or the Department of Bioengineering here at the University of Texas at Dallas. We are, of course, celebrating our 10th year anniversary. So we've been here around for 10 years. And in that short period of time, we have the third largest undergraduate program in the country. And we're very proud that we rank number one in the country for graduating women, especially out of the graduate program, master's program. So if you want to explore our department and learn more over the next few hours beyond this particular information session, we do have a website where we have all the information pertinent to our 10-year celebration. There is an interesting podcast with a number of thought leaders in and around DFW, as well as within the university ecosystem, where you'll get to understand how this department evolved and how we are very much focused on making connections with the industry. We have an entrepreneurship bent of mind. And this is something that we take a lot of pride in the ability of our graduates to be able to think outside the box and make those connections. Most recently, Lucas Rodriguez, who graduated with his PhD in 2016, was the CEO of this company called CircSci, and they were able to exit and make this big merger and acquisition with a pharmaceutical company out in California. And that exit was worth $52.5 million, and with what is known as staged exit. So that means if they hit certain milestones, that is another 900 million. So it was close to $1 billion, that exit. So that's a big thing. How do you take ideas from the lab? And this was a research idea that evolved out of the pain center here at UT Dallas. So how to take ideas which have evolved out of the research labs and actually make commercial impact, right? So we have done this. Our bioengineering students know how to do this. And if there is an interest in entrepreneurship, definitely you should consider UT Dallas. Beyond that, of course, we focus on the traditional academic pathways. So whether you're thinking of postdoc opportunities post PhD, or you're looking at more industry-driven relationships. So, and DFW being a hotbed for industry in the sense that we've got Abbott Labs, Alcon, and many others. So this is an opportunity to explore our department. We are very practical. We hope that if you're spending the next 4 to 5 years of your life with us, then at the end of it, you're able to go clear out all your debt you might have had from your undergraduate, and then you're able to essentially shape your career to the next level. In UT Dallas Bioengineering, should you be a part of this PhD program, our commitment to you is that we will do our 100% to ensure that you're fully funded through the course of your PhD, of course, provided you're in good academic standing, and of course that you are a full-time student. So with that, I'll pivot and I'll turn it back to Dr. Willis. She'll introduce her academic team and talk to you all about what it takes to get into UTD bioengineering PhD program. Betsy?
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, welcome. We are so excited that you've joined us today, and I certainly hope to see you on our campus in the future. So with us today is the academic team, and you're going to hear from Leah Matheson, our academic support coordinator, Andy Rhodes, who is our degree plan evaluator. He is the advisor, and he will be your guide to help you with the necessary milestones that you'll encounter during your PhD program. We also have several of our graduate ambassadors with us, and we'll introduce them here in a little while. So I want to talk through the application process. You all may be at different points in the application process, be it my application is complete and I'm done, ready to go, or you may be thinking, I should probably find that link. So a couple of points here to make. With the pandemic that we are in the midst of, we have extended the GRE waiver for fall 2021 applicants. So you don't need to worry about taking the GRE and submitting any scores. If you have, fantastic, submit those scores. If you haven't, don't worry about it. Following this information session, we are offering an application fee waiver for the first 10 fully completed applications. Once you complete your application, email one of us, and our emails are available in the meeting link that you received, or later today in this presentation, we can certainly provide those to you. But let us know that you have completed your application. We'll double check that and waive your application fee for you. The application deadline is January 15th. Now, the sooner the better that you get your application in. We're going to be talking a little bit about our EMGF, Eugene McDermott Graduate Fellowship Program, here in a few minutes. And priority consideration for that is January 15th. And actually, we can start considering you for that before that date. You can go ahead and begin talking with faculty now about their labs, their research, if they have any openings. You can find all of our faculty on our website, including links to their email addresses, and I'd encourage you to reach out to those faculty with whom you think you might be interested in working with. We're going to go through each of our research areas here in a few minutes, and you'll have an opportunity to see which faculty are in which research area. And then in February, we host a recruitment weekend every year. Now, this year, our recruitment weekend will be virtual, so we'll be making plans to do virtual presentations, campus tours, and one highlight of that weekend is your opportunity to interview and talk with several of our faculty. That weekend typically, and that experience proves to be a good one to help you kind of solidify your decision to join UT Dallas and your fit with the lab that you have found. So, talking about our 6 major research areas, we have bioimaging, biomaterials, biomechanics, bioelectronics and sensors, neural engineering, and systems biology. And I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Prasad here for a few minutes to get us started talking about these research areas. And then you're going to have an opportunity to also hear from some of our graduate ambassadors about their particular research areas as well. Dr. Prasad?
Thank you, Betsy. So let's dive into the 6 major research areas that we have in the department. We have 18 research active or tenure track faculty who are primarily affiliated or who sit in the biomedical engineering department. In addition, we have a number of affiliated faculty in other departments within the Johnson School of Engineering or with UT Southwestern, which is our sister medical school with whom we have a joint graduate program. So the first area, which has a big clinical thrust and focus, is bioimaging. And as you can see, there are 5 faculty who are primary bioengineering faculty who are affiliated with this area. And their research spans all the way from hyperspectral imaging, augmented reality, virtual reality, towards using ultrasound, and all the way to the chemistry aspect where you're looking at photodynamic therapy and designing better reporter molecules to be able to do better visualization for extremely complex and hard to reach tumors. There's a big relationship between cancer and imaging, and there's a lot of research funding from our Cancer Prevention Research Institute of Texas, which allows us to partner with other institutions within the state of Texas. And so doing this is really an area which will help you to understand how to work in a clinical environment. And if you are interested in careers which require you to be in a med school, this is an opportunity here for you. Moving on, the second area. The second area is biomaterials. So bioengineering at UTD has a strong relationship with our material science department, as well as with our basic sciences, which is natural sciences and mathematics. Again, in biomaterials, we have 5 core faculty who are associated with this, and you can see their names. Now, again, in this, it goes all the way from understanding how to design and synthesize novel material systems and going all the way to the application. Now, the application spaces are innumerable. We go from neural engineering, where we are designing novel probes to get long-term chronic measurements within different parts of the brain. Dr. Kogan recently won a huge NIH platform grant that allows him to look at designing visual prosthesis, which is going to help with blindness. Then, of course, you go into soft materials. So this is your microfluidic materials. In this context, Dr. Schmidtke and Dr. Jones look all the way from studying how kidneys evolve to understanding the problems associated with body's immunity through understanding how sepsis spreads, and so understanding the cellular interactions. And both Dr. Ocello and Dr. Rodriguez look into understanding the importance of designing materials and systems for implants in the dental and orthopedic spaces. So that's the flavor of this research that we have here. In biomechanics, our emphasis right now is in the soft tissue biomechanics as well as in the cellular biomechanics areas. There is an interest through our affiliate faculty to do more soft robotics and prosthetics along with our partners at UT Southwestern. Our affiliate faculty, Dr. Daher, he is very much focused the prosthetic portion of this. But within the department, our focus is primarily into soft tissue biomechanics. So you have Dr. Feruzi and Dr. Hainga who are looking at cell interaction, cell biology for cancer biology, and Dr. Warner who's looking at embryogenesis of tissue. Moving on. In biosensors and bioelectronics, Dr. Schmidtke and I focus on designing devices and systems that will engage with the human body and help understand various aspects of human performance. So my work is a lot in wearables and wearable sensor systems. And I expand into looking into the impact of environment on health. And Dr. Schmidtke and I collaborate to look into understanding molecular interactions within the brain towards understanding the impact of various triggers that drive these relationships. Besides us, there are other faculty in ECE as well as in BBS, which is the Behavioral and Brain Sciences, where we look into either designing novel sensor material systems or we're looking at the interactions of those towards specific human function. And what you can see there is one of the early versions of a wearable that we built towards looking for glucose from sweat.
Okay, for neural engineering, I believe Andrea, one of our ambassadors, is on. Andrea, do you want to talk a little bit about the neural engineering area?
Sure. Sorry. Sure. Hi, everybody. So my name is Andrea, and I work with Dr. Seth Hayes. So what we work on is vagus nerve stimulation. And so vagus nerve stimulation is this technique that's been approved by the FDA to treat epilepsy. But what we do with it is we like to figure out a way to use it to treat other neurological diseases like stroke or PTSD, etc. And so what we're working on right now is multifaceted. So we have a preclinical aspect of it in which we test different parameters of vagus nerve stimulation and see how good they are at treating these disorders. A clinical aspect in which we have engineers that are working on creating tools so that patients can work on this therapy from home. And then we have another aspect, which is kind of more core engineering, in which we have members of our lab that are working on creating these stimulators for the vagus nerve therapy that are wireless, that do not require batteries. And in that aspect, we're making great leaps. We've actually had approval from the FDA to start putting these implants in individuals. So our lab has multiple aspects, whether or not you want to work with patients or you want to stick with just core engineering principles or kind of do some animal research. We kind of have all of that. And to go with that, you do get some kind of a choice in that. And the best part of it is that we're kind of always updated on every update of every single one of our teams. So you really get a full understanding of the entire process from preclinical to clinical studies. That's all I
Excellent.
have.
Thank you so much. Moving on to systems biology. Dr. Prasad, do you want to cover some systems biology?
Sure, happy to do that. So, in the area of systems biology, we go all the way from looking at designing circular DNA that can be then used towards being hooks to looking at specific diseases so that you can do edits into the genome. So that's Dr. Levine's work. And Dr. Blairis is very much into using different gene editing tools and designing molecular mammalian synthetic biology systems towards addressing a number of disease endpoints. And you all know that CRISPR gene editing tool won the Nobel Prize this year for chemistry. And so what Dr. Blairis does is very niche work that looks at a very engineering approach towards editing mammalian cells. And implications and impact of this is multifold, right? Because you're going to change the way a human being perhaps will evolve, right, from the way that you address issues, genetic diseases, and so on and so forth. So this is the breadth of systems biology expertise that we have within the department. And again, there's strong relationship building with biology, where we have some systems biologists as well as with UT Southwestern, where we look at the computational aspects of systems biology.
Thank you very much. And did we miss bioimaging?
I spoke about it at the very
You
beginning, but I think you have a
spoke about it.
student. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I am going to back up here and allow a couple of our graduate ambassadors, Arvin and Aditi. I believe they're both on the meeting, and they can speak a little bit about their research areas.
Sure, I can go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Aditi. I'm a fourth-year PhD student in Dr. Circe's lab. So to reiterate a little bit of what Dr. Prasad was saying, we primarily focus on ultrasound and ultrasound contrast agents. So, we're heavily into chemistry in terms of the development of these novel contrast agents, which can be deployed in vivo for cancer imaging purposes. And then we're also, sort of biology centric because we kind of skip over the in vitro studies and we principally work with animal models. And so we have a very great breadth of sort of skills that we employ, and it keeps things really interesting on a daily basis. In addition to using ultrasound and contrast agents for drug delivery, so conventional chemotherapeutics, my project actually integrates a bit of systems biology. I'm working on doing gene delivery for the purposes of in vivo genome editing. And so I'm actually working with Dr. Blairis. He's developing a CRISPR Cas9 cassette that we can deliver to neuroblastoma, which is the pediatric cancer. And so we can perform genome editing and then use ultrasound imaging to do longitudinal monitoring. So we can sort of check response to therapy in the long term following treatment. Arvin, anything to add to that?
Yeah, not actually something new, but as Dr. Prasad mentioned, there is a huge gap between imaging and therapy right now, especially in cancer. And we're trying to, in our lab, in Dr. Sisi lab, we're trying to fill in this gap. Basically, what will happen in the clinics right now is that if someone goes through chemotherapy, there's no way to assess the effectiveness of chemotherapy in real time. And we're trying to come up with, in my project, we're trying to come up with novel ultrasound contrast agents formulations that can deliver the drugs, and at the same time we can use them for imaging. So this is very novel, and it can be really helpful in the clinics because we can assess the effectiveness of drug delivery in real time. So that was my project, but again, as Aditi mentioned, there is a lot of areas that we focus on, so it makes things interesting. There's biology because we use these materials for drug delivery applications. There is biomaterials, there is chemistry. So it is a pretty interdisciplinary kind of project.
Excellent. Thank you both so much. So that's a brief overview of our 6 research areas. I'd now like to turn it over to Andy Rhodes to talk a little bit about our program and our students that are in the program.
Good morning. Yes, I am Andy, and I am the advisor here in the department. So what I will be able to help you with is any questions such as, Mojan, I see that you posed a question in the chat for us, so I'll get you that answer for you now as well. I will help you out with any questions, how to get into the program, what to do through the program, and how to graduate with the program in a successful way. Brief overview of our PhD program. Currently, we have 85 PhD students in the program. We have been growing at a very steady rate over the last few years, and I'm expecting at least an additional 20 plus for 2021. So to answer the question posed, how many PhD students do we accept to our program each year? We've accepted roughly 15 to 25 over the last 3 years each year. That number is purely dependent on faculty, on their grants, on their availability of space in their labs. So if we have a faculty who needs a student, who has the funding for the student, who wants to have a student in their lab, we will make that happen. So as far as our demographics, currently we have 46 male students, 39 female students, and 46 international, 39 domestic students. So read into that what you will, but I think that's a pretty good stat right there. We have students that are advised both by faculty here at UTD as well as faculty at the medical school, UT Southwestern. And it was mentioned earlier, all of our students are supported through research assistantships or teaching assistantships, which includes tuition waivers and stipends attached to those. Dr. Willis mentioned our EMGF, the Eugene McDermott Graduate Fellowship. We will talk about that in a few seconds, but currently we have 12 students who have been awarded this scholarship. And if we look at that across the school, that is by far, we've been the most supported department by this fellowship. And we strive with that relationship to make it even better. So we have a lot of funding and we want a lot of students. So please, if you have any questions about that, let me know. If you're looking for a lab, if you're looking for a specific research area, I will help you. I will get you in touch with the faculty that you would like to do that, and we can make that happen. There's another question here from Shashank. For students who wish to transition from the graduate master's degree at UTD to the PhD program, what is the application process? Shashank, thank you. That's a great question. If I can just take a few seconds to answer that. The application process is going to be the same as if you were a student outside of UTD. You still put a full application in. The number one thing that I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell every applicant who wants to apply to our program, start speaking with faculty now. If you look at our website, which I believe is linked in our email, if it's not, we can send that out to you. You will find the contact information for all of our faculty. Please email them. We want to hear from you. We want to know a little bit more about you. So if you're interested, let's say and I'm just going to, because Dr. Prasad is on this meeting, let's say you're interested in biosensors, and that's the area that you want to get into for your PhD. She would gladly accept an email from you. This is me. This is Andy Rhodes. I'm looking to get into the PhD program. I've attached my resume. This is a bit of my background. This is where I want to go with my PhD. Do you have any advice for me? Are you taking students on in your lab? Dr. Prasad will answer any questions that she can, and then she will direct you to me, and I'll be able to help you from there. So Shashank, the same would be for you. If you're looking to get into our PhD program from a master's here at UTD, reach out to the faculty that you're interested in their lab, and start the conversation there. All right. Betsy, thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you so very much. Okay, so funding opportunities. I'll speak briefly about this. You've heard about the Eugene McDermott Graduate Fellow Program. ECS, Engineering and Computer Science, that is the school within which bioengineering resides, offers several fellowships, particularly for students once they are already here. And we've had several students who have been recipients of these fellowships. So that is an excellent way to help fund your studies. Additionally, as Dr. Prasad mentioned earlier, to date, all of our PhD students have been funded through research assistantships and teaching assistantships. And we certainly, our goal is to continue that and hope to, but we do have funding opportunities here for you. Leah, would you like to cover a little bit about life at UTD and Dallas-Fort Worth?
Of course. So a lot of students ask about our campus and what life is like. So our campus is not actually in Dallas, it's in Richardson, Texas, which is a suburb right outside of Dallas. So when you're choosing to live, you can choose to live down in the truly urban parts of Dallas, Deep Ellum, things like that, or out by campus. It is completely up to you and your preferences. You can reach out to our current grad students to find out what they like, pros and cons of each. And then there are just the benefits of being in such a large city, especially flights. A lot of students appreciate the ability to get direct flights out of DFW. We have a graduate student association specific to our department. They are a huge resource. They are happy to help and they will orient you if you come, and they provide workshops and feedback and are happy to help in any way. And then it's also helpful with networking, and our college and university-wide has career centers to assist with internships and job opportunities.
Excellent, thank you. Now I'm going to invite our graduate ambassadors. So we have, as you heard earlier, Aditi, Arvin, and Andrea with us today. And I'm going to invite each of them to talk a little bit more about how and why they chose UT Dallas Bioengineering for their studies and any pieces of advice that they might have for students considering our program. So Aditi, let's start with you.
Thanks, Betsy. Hi again, everyone. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the research that I do was, I think, the biggest pull for me. I had, before joining the PhD program, I had actually taken a break after my undergrad, and I was working also in research, but in a medical school, so doing oncology and more basic science, molecular biology type of work. And I realized in my experience there that there was a big clinical deficit. We needed to really employ active targeting strategies to reduce sort of the cytotoxic effects of chemotherapy, because it's super effective, but it just has a lot of adverse systemic effects. And so I got into contact with Dr. Searcy. We really clicked. And I think this sort of leads into my first piece of advice, which is, I know it's been said a few times here, but reach out to faculty, because your advisor is going to have a huge impact on your life as a PhD student, and to have that really good strong working relationship, because initially they're going to be guiding you. You're going to be learning all the skills, from them and from senior grad students in the lab. So it's really critical, I think, to your success that you establish a really good relationship with your PI, and yeah, you're able to grow and develop that. And it's sort of, I'm a fourth year student now, and my relationship with Dr. Searcy, it's definitely more collegial. So we bounce ideas off of each other, and he's super receptive to that. The other thing is, he's given me great opportunities to present my work. If I want to work with another lab, I think the collaborative spirit of UTD was another very compelling factor for me in choosing this program. If you want to sort of venture into other areas, so biomaterials, systems biology, for me personally, he has encouraged me to do that, to talk to other faculty. And so I just feel like I'm learning a whole lot of skills that I wouldn't ordinarily have been able to do, and just work with a lot of other grad students. And that's really enriched my overall experience. I will put a plug in for the BMN GSA because I happen to be the president of that organization. But you know, in this post-COVID world, we are trying to stay connected and do virtual events and host workshops and you know, trying to stay a community because we're a fairly new organization, so we're in our second year, and we had a very successful first year. We had social events. Again, we had networking opportunities like how to build a LinkedIn page, very practical workshop kind of ideas to help people who want to transition to either academia or to industry. So yeah, I think we're here to serve as a resource for you. So I welcome any emails or any inquiries if you want to know about student life or just DFW area in general. So yeah, I've in the past 3 years that I've spent here, I've had a really positive experience, and I couldn't recommend the department more. All the advisors that have spoken here have been so helpful, and so I encourage you to reach out. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Andrea, would you like to share a little bit about how you chose UT Dallas and the benefits of being here?
Sure. So I have a little bit of an unusual story when it comes to this. I actually started at UT Dallas in my undergrad, did a master's there, got a job there, and then eventually I decided to join the PhD program. And I think the fact that I've chosen to be there for such a long time speaks just to the quality of the university. Everybody is super cooperative, which is great. Our lab and has had multiple projects in which we have work with other labs, which is super helpful when it comes to sharing equipment, having someone to answer your questions, sharing software, or handing a part of your project that would probably take it to the next level in publications. Have another lab come in and help you with that so that the burden is not entirely on you to figure out a new technique for your lab. So for that big reason is one of the reasons that I picked UTD, just because there's just so much access to knowledge, equipment. It also is in a even though it's a commuter school for undergrads, there's still a great student life. I think that all the people that I've met here have been wonderful. In my lab specifically, we use a lot of undergrads, like volunteers, to help us with our research, and that has been so helpful. So whereas in other universities, you might have to do all your experiments yourself, here we've built a community in which undergrads feel encouraged to reach out to these research labs and volunteer and learn so much, so that they can figure out whether they want to go to the PhD route or medical school route, et cetera, or industry. And that has been super helpful, at least for me in my research, because it's allowed me to be able to take on bigger projects that I probably wouldn't have been able to do by myself. It's allowed me to have a better social life. You know, not necessarily always being in the lab 24 hours a day. I feel confident in training students and teaching them how to do certain experiments and being able to go home and have dinner with my family, you know, take my dog on a walk. So that's a great aspect of it. And the quality of the undergrads is outstanding as well. They are all very driven students that really want, you know, those really awesome rec letters. And so I've always trusted them with my experiments. So that's always a plus. So for those reasons, I picked UTD. I really absolutely love the campus. I loved all of the new construction and beautification that has gone through and the people here.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Arvin, would you mind sharing a little bit too?
Yes, of course. So like Andrea, I had a different path for choosing UTD too. So I am an international student, and when I was looking for schools that I can apply to, I found that UTD, like, it's a young department and with a lot of intelligent and intelligent PIs that work on interesting sides of biomedical engineering. And then I chose that, and when I came here, I thought that I was actually shocked by the friendly environment of the grad school here, because when you usually think about grad school, you'll think of people that just do what they're supposed to do and they don't socialize and they're not that friendly. But my grad school was not like that. We had actually a lot of fun, but we focused on the work too. And one thing that I want to mention, that I want to actually emphasize, is the relationship that grad students have with undergraduate students. It's really good in our department, and I actually happen to have an undergraduate student, and we work together and we published a paper, and she's gone to a lot of conferences. So the quality of undergraduate students are really good at UTD, and they can be really helpful in helping you with your project. And they can actually have their own project, and most of them can pull off an independent project. And one other thing is that, like Aditi said, connections are really important. And most of the faculty members at UTD, they have collaborations with other schools like UT Southwestern, which is a very good school. So I think UTD is one of the you can use that connections for your career in long term. So those were the reasons that I chose UTD, and I had a very great experience in the past 3.5 years at UTD. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I know Andy addressed some of the questions that came in through the chat. Everyone in this meeting does have the option of unmuting yourself and speaking. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so I can start to see you all too. There we go. All right. So does anyone have any questions? You can post them in the chat or use the raise hand function, and we will certainly address your questions that you might have at this point. So the question in the chat is, what if I submit my application incomplete before the deadline? Will I have access to it to make changes? Leah or Andy, do you want to take this question? I know you deal with the application process more.
Yes, so you will have access to be able to add to that application and to make changes to that application. You will also have access to Leah and myself. So if you just want to email us and say, hey, I've got an extra document I need to attach, or I need to make this addition or that edit to my current application, we can make that for you, yes. But you will have access to your application.
Okay, excellent. And I see that someone has already submitted their application. So thank you. We will get that fee waiver processed for you. All right. Well, I just want to conclude today's session by thanking you for attending. And as we said earlier, feel free to reach out to any of us with questions. I'm going to follow up in an email to you. It'll have a link to a brief survey if you wouldn't mind completing that. And then I will also be sure to include the contact information, the email addresses for those of us who spoke today and presented, so that as you have additional questions or thoughts, you are certainly welcome to reach out. I hope that you've found that our department is very open and welcoming, very collaborative in nature. That's one of the things that certainly strikes me as unique to our department, and a great place to pursue your doctoral studies. So thank you all so much for attending. And does anyone else have any concluding questions or comments? All right. Well, with that, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.